I just want to go ahead and do a little shout out, which is a brand new feature that's just been added to the stream. One of the great people that I've met right here during TwitchCon was Jessica right here. A little shout out to him. I often feel like shout outs are a little bit like, oh yeah, shout out, there's like a link in chat. I'll do a link in chat as well. But Jessica is like a really, really great Minecraft YouTuber. Honestly, one of the coolest things, as you can see right here, is like, he's a big fan of Ajax, which is like the local team here. So I just saw him around. He was always wearing like these Ajax shirts. And I was like, holy shit, dude, you're from Holland? He actually isn't. Anyway, he does great Minecraft content. Minecraft is one of those games that I've played a little bit with, like, me personally, just like with my siblings a bit, but I've never really like done very hardcore, so I don't know too much about it. But yeah, he does like great family-friendly content on Twitch. Actually came from Mixer, which is pretty damn cool. Rip Mixer, man, and it's a big loss. It would have been great to have more platforms, more streaming platforms around. Even though Kick is doing quite well, Kick is also the platform that I'm not really quite sure whether whether it's stream on that. I'm not necessarily opposed to the platform of Kick per se. I think that generally a platform shouldn't really be defined by the investors behind it, because Google isn't really a great investor either. Amazon isn't really a great investor either. They're all companies that do shady things in one way or another. I don't think you should really look towards companies to be your value judgment, to be the beacons of goodness in this world, because companies really aren't the great things that you imagine them to be. I mean, I do literally have Kick right here in my multi-stream thing. I can just press the button and we're live on Kick right now, but I don't really want to yet because of two reasons. Number one, Kick's API integration is really, really shit, so I can't get chat up and working, so that's kind of sad. But number two, even more important, is that Kick's reputation or Kick's like entire standing is kind of being for people who get banned on Twitch. And I really, really feel that every single time I hear something about Kick, it's pretty much like a degenerate piece of media, which is not all that great. It's like I haven't actually tried streaming on Kick that much yet, but from what I can tell, from what I can see, what really pops off there is not really something that I'm proud to put my content alongside with. I do want to clarify that I'm not against like edgy content. One of the greatest eras of YouTube, I really think, is like the 2016 era of YouTube, when you have FilthyFrank, Idubbbz, and like these guys just going at it, H3H3 Productions, when they were still like at their peak. I really, really like that type of content. However, I think that edginess is only fun as long as it serves a purpose of perpetuating humor and perpetuating like a certain point of a creative vision that you want to push along. Like, for instance, the like cake trilogy that FilthyFrank put out on this channel, which basically was creating the most vile cakes together and then eating them up. The entire thing of that being so vile and edgy was all about just like, let us do something that no one would dare to do, which is just like very kind of gross. But the only people that we really hurt with that are ourselves, and we're just like laugh at how ridiculous this is. I really think that they're really funny. The way that he would just go out, like tackle this entire like vegan problem, where back in the day it was kind of like coming up, this entire idea of like going vegan, eating less meat, but the people who would champion that very much were people who were very obnoxious about it. So they would always shout about it like, oh man, I'm vegan, and then he would go out and emulate that, being like, oh man, I'm vegan, and he would just like walk around like literally like public bathroom stalls and just like go to someone sitting on the bathroom like on the outside, being like, hey, I'm vegan. Can you tell me I'm doing good? I'm vegan. Here. And he pushes like a medal like underneath the bathroom. So, hey, can you give me this medal? Because I'm vegan. And it's just like, man, it's like, it's so not harmful, but it's so out of this world. It's so like taking this concept and completely going wild with it, doing something that you'd never do personally, but just the extremity of it. If you look at something like Kick, I think that this is being vulgar for the sake of being vulgar. So around TwitchCon, we had a couple of Kick streamer incidents. I wasn't personally involved with this, but it did happen while I was at the con floor, and it was kind of like, okay, so this is going on. I think the first thing that happened was that someone just kind of like assaulted someone on the con floor, and it's a means of like, oh hey, I'm your biggest fan, and try to, you know, like go in for the hug, but instead of going in for the hug, they went to do something else, and they got very swiftly kicked out of the con floor. And at that point in time, like, you're not really embarrassing yourself or like doing something extreme for yourself where it's like, oh man, you know, everyone would cringe at you while you're doing that, but it's funny because, you know, you're doing something that's kind of cringe. It's just kind of like making another person uncomfortable for your own game. So that wasn't really all that great. Then they went outside and they pushed someone into a train, a moving train, which is like, that's just kind of like attempted murder. Like, I don't really see the fun part in that, really, to be honest. It's like, what's the joke there? And that's something which really holding me back when it comes to Kick streaming, where that platform, as far as I can tell, there will probably be a whole bunch of good streamers on there too. But as far as I can tell, the streamers that really rise to the top there are streamers that just do like offensive, edgy shit for the sake of it being offensive and edgy, and not necessarily for it being like a means to tell a funny joke. For example, I think that the Idubbbz bad unboxings were great examples of something that on the surface seemed like very foul and bad, you know, like the entire, if you've ever seen an Idubbbz bad unboxing, basically it was him just unboxing whatever random shit people send him, and his entire room by the end of it would just not be a room that you'd want to be in. It'd be a really, really bad room. However, the entire point around it was, at that point in time, there were so many channels coming up that would do unboxing videos. So you'd have like, oh man, this is entirely pristine room, and they would like take off the box and it's like, oh, look, it's a box. Looks, it's like a thing in there, and oh my god, there's like a manual, and it's like, it was so over the top about like, oh, I'm taking something outside of a box, that taking this format of like, oh man, let us take out the most expensive thing outside the box, and then just turning it into like the entire opposite of it, where it's like, let's just open up something, let's just tear it apart, we're gonna open up something that's gonna be complete trash, and we're just gonna like make a mockery out of it. I thought there was some sort of like humorous point to it. So that is something that I feel very much when it comes to Kick. I don't really think that is what it's going for. I think right now it still very much stands in the same way that Rumble and Odyssey stand. They're kind of like the platforms that you go to if you get banned of the other platforms. And that is unfortunate. Like, I felt like Mixer was more trying to be a viable competitor to YouTube and Twitch, rather than, you know, just being like this offshoot platform. That's not to say that I think that Kick is doing a way better job in bringing competition to Twitch and YouTube. And I also think that it's fine to not have such very strict standards. Like right now I'm seeing people on YouTube like censor the words die and shit. And I'm like, what are we doing? What's going on here, man? This makes no sense. What the fuck is this shit, right? But at the same time, I do think that there's like, you know, if streamers start pushing people into moving trains, attempted murder, like just ban them off the platform or something. Like that's going too far.